My father told me a very unsettling and scary story that happened to him when he was about 18. He was going camping with his friend Gus. They were both 18 at the time when this happened. They went to a campsite that was notorious for women going missing. But they figured since they were men, nothing was going to happen to them. Long story short, my father and Gus got the campsite ready. Gus set up the tent while my father made the food. After they got done, they put out the fire and they headed off to bed because the next morning they were going to go hiking. A few hours into them sleeping, my father said he heard a blood-curdling scream. My father quickly jumped up from his sleeping bag. He got out of his tent and looked around to see where the screaming was coming from. He then went towards Gus's tent, but when he opened up the tent, he didn't see Gus. The tent was empty, and there wasn't even a sleeping bag in there. "Gus! Gus! Where are you?" my father called out. But he didn't see any sign of Gus anywhere. And he still heard that blood-curdling scream again. My father decided to go in his tent and grab his pistol to go where the scream was coming from. But as he was doing that, my father noticed the screaming was coming closer, and he can hear leaves crunching under footsteps. As the scream was coming closer and the footsteps was coming closer, my father grabbed his pistol and he aimed it where he heard the noise was coming from. And as the screaming got more closer and louder and the crunches of the leaves was coming closer, he began to make out a silhouette. And then he began to make out what was happening. And what was happening would forever scar my father. There was a woman who looked to be no older than 25. She had blonde hair, a white miniskirt, but she was covered in blood. But that wasn't the part that shocked my father. The person that was holding a weapon towards the woman was his friend Gus. My father stared at Gus and the woman for a couple of minutes before saying, "Come on, man. You should have waited for me. We were going to kidnap her together and kill her together. Gus, come on, stay with the plan." Then Gus replied, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I couldn't help it. You know I always get that urge. And don't tell me you don't get it too." My father replied by saying, "I understand that, but I told you not to kill her yet. She's pregnant with my child. I want to cut out the baby first, and then we'll murder her." Yes, you heard correctly. My father and Gus held my mother captive. They had plans on killing her, but she was pregnant with me. So after my mother gave birth to me, that's when my father killed her and took the baby, which was me. My father told me on his deathbed that he's forever traumatized and that he wished he never had gone through with killing my mother. But he was forced to. But he never told me who forced him to do it. As for Gus, unfortunately, well, not really. He died 2 years ago in a car accident. As for my father, after he told me this, he passed away. I don't know whether I should tell anyone about this or not, but I'm writing this down. Maybe everyone on the internet can tell me what my next steps should be